Hi, calling all being, wherever you are, from wherever you are. What is the subtlety of our being? Like a bee. And what do we think of in thinking about bees? That they're buzzing. And what do we associate with buzzing? Vibration. That's the point. Human beings are buzzing with energy. It is a subtlety. And it is more than just a subtlety. It is a transitional phase of energy. It's a higher form of energy than what we are normally thinking of. We go about our day in some sense oblivious to the energetic shimmering our body is involved with 24 hours a day. We just ignore this finer sense of energetic action. This is the point, is there are many levels of awareness, many levels of energy, on many levels of planes of awareness. When people are thinking about finer energies as in souls that have departed this physical plane and proceeded onto more subtle planes. This is a transitional energy that we have, that we can become more aware of. Just a thought, because I had a dream of my father this morning, and it made me recollect that as he was passing, his whole body was vibrating noticeably with energy. And if you learn to evaluate your own levels of energy, you will find that oftentimes there are subtle energy happening as you are doing things. Just something to be thinking about, something to be more aware of as one is seeking to be more knowledgeable about oneself and about the world, about the universe that is going on. It is part of this philosophy. The universe is made of the original energy of creation, built layer by layer over 14 plus billion years. Being comfortable, being relaxed, and at the same token, alert, being comfortable, and at the same token, dynamically alive, awake. There seemingly are dichotomies between some of these words, and yet, on a deeper level, there's none. They are just different degrees of fluctuations, of forms of internal energies, internal awarenesses we share. And it's in all creatures, it's not just in Homo sapiens. It is in all life. It is in everything, actually, but more visible in animated life forms than in something like a rock. It is in both, but the vibrations are stronger on this subtle level in beings that breathe, that pulse, and that shimmer. It is much easier to find. Science has found the energies of creation in the dynamics of atoms, in their constituents. They can split, in essence, tearing apart the pieces that make up an atom. And we associate this with the term of nuclear energy. It gives you some idea of what's going on these different subtle levels. The point is that the levels are here, and we can be aware of them and utilize them to help us realize we are in our mindful meditation becoming more aware, improving our cognition, our awareness of our capacities, of the subtlety of our own being. And this is a good thing. How do we do this? Well, it's simple enough, really. If we take a moment just to consider, we feel warm. There's a sense of moisture that we call sweat emanating out of our body along with this heat. We feel a physical interaction between our bodies and our environment. If we take notice and focus our concentration on our own being, oftentimes comfortably seated in an environment where we can focus more easily, where we can concentrate our efforts, and we begin to come into contact with our body functions, bodily processes, and we begin to realize that we are breathing. And we breathe so many times a day that it's natural not to take too much notice of it all because it's happening all the time. Every 5 or 10 seconds, we're breathing again. And it's a lot. But gaining an awareness of one's breathing begins to usher in, there's a possibility that we can utilize this as a tool. And we do. In fight or flight symbology, respiration increases. Our body fills with greater amounts of oxygenated blood. We become more dynamic, more capable. Our musculature more powerful and energized. We can jump, run, respond. This is a use of our breathing as a tool. Similarly, if we cause our breathing to slow down, we manipulate our breathing into slower and longer and deeper breaths, we find ourselves becoming more relaxed, more at ease, tranquil, a sense of peace. Just the opposite. And what does this tell us? Again, it can be utilized as a tool. So it is very important to continue understanding this concept through one's day because we can utilize it. We can take a moment and change ourselves, change the way we're thinking, change the way that we're responding just by changing our breath. Investigating further, and in a sense, on a more subtle basis, we found the heat emanating from our bodies. We found the breath that secures us the oxygen to feed ourselves. And again, on a more subtle basis, we can acknowledge the pulsing or the beating of our very own hearts. And why is this more subtle? This is occurring even more often than our breathing. It occurs about once every moment. And so being unconscious of our breathing and our pulsing because of the volume of breaths and pulses these two processes entail, we don't think about them. They're taken for granted. But when we do take a moments to remember them, then again, we can use either or both of them as tools to be focusing on one's pulsing. Allows one an opportunity to travel down this path of acknowledging, remembering, appreciating, and being humble before these very important, critically important processes of life. What does this help us do? It can help us focus, help us concentrate, because we're following this activity. We're flowing with this activity. And flowing is the way that we become more conscious, more of our time. And this is a worthy and important goal for us to share, for us to seek, for us to increase. We need to do this. It's important to do. Further, having felt our heat of our bodies and our breath as we follow our chests rise and fall, as we acknowledge there's a force pushing our blood through our arteries and veins to circulate the oxygen to reach all of our cells, we are setting ourselves up to acknowledge and not take for granted more. And we begin to realize that there's more going on that we can find. All of a sudden, one comes to the realization, self-realization, your body is vibrating all of the time. There's a certain subtlety in motion of one being alive. It is a miracle. All of these things put together, all of these different aspects or attributes taken one at a time, everything in this universe is a bundle of miracles. With a greater sense of perspective comes a sense of awe, of reverence, and amazement at just how sophisticated we are. To become so aware of one's own being, of the universe at large, meaning everything else, one's family and friends and neighbors and communities. Perspective grows and changes, evolves, making the best out of what we're given, how, when, where, why, who we're born, and what we become. It is to some degree malleable. We can help mold ourselves, remembering we can plant seeds of virtue, characteristics or qualities to improve ourselves. We can practice and make an effort to have these ideas cling to our minds. And as we proceed through our daily endeavors, take advantage of what we have found. Enjoy your day with a great sense of humility and thankfulness. Namaste.